And so my journey to the end of Steven Universe has come to a close. I ended up only doing the last three episodes together simply because of the fact that they are so integral to each other. As episode 17, while does really connect and segue into things, it feels more like a kind of aside, if anything else. But I'll tell you straight out, I cried. I cried at so many points during this finale. It it racked me in ways that I didn't think I could be racked. I Let's just jump into things. As I begin with episode 18, Everything's Fine. As Steven returns home, having lost the flip flop on his way out of the gem homeworld, he makes his way back home. He ends up being contacted by Connie, doing his best to make everything seem like it's fine. Everything is fine. And Connie questions this. She has her misgivings, but Steven really goes out of his way to convince her that everything is okay. But it really isn't. He's really at a loss with everything that's happened, everything that he's done. The memories of what he's done start flashing on the TV. He notices that his eyes have taken on the diamond shape, but he's determined to be the Steven Universe he's always been. He originally was that pure child who could almost do no wrong. He tries to live up to this expectation of himself, and he does his best to convince the gems that he's okay, he's fine. Despite his appearance, everything is fine. And he just thinks that everything started to spiral downhill after he left Little Homeworld. So he heads over to there to just kind of help people because that's what he did. That's what he does. He helps people. He doesn't make things worse. He just helps people. So he ends up running into Peridot's gardening class where Pink Pearl, what's up with you covering that eye? Yo, what you doing? What you doing, girl? And at first, Peridot's kind of wary, knowing about, having heard about the whole situation with Cactus Steven. However, one of her plants has kind of been really having a rough time, and, she could use a little bit of Steven's magic, only for him to accidentally create a whole bunch of plant Stevens that kind of run amok. Um, but he sees this as just new friends for people to make. And he says, everything's fine. I'm here to help. Everything is fine. He heads over to Business Place, talking to himself along the way, which really worries Amethyst, where Bismuth and Pearl are teaching a class on making armor and all that good stuff. And, Steven comes in to help out, and Bismuth gives him a little hammer so, he can go a little easy on things. He doesn't need to use any excessive force, only for him to destroy Bismuth's prized anvil. He then heads over to where a whole bunch of people are playing baseball in order just to have a fun time, help out, just be there for everyone. However, one of the fly balls ends up heading towards a window where the heaven and earth beetles are at, and Steven manages to catch it. Pretty much without incident, surprisingly enough. Unfortunately, his exclamation of joy at this fact ends up causing mass destruction and devastation. And he just plays this off as, oh, we all make mistakes, nothing that can't easily be fixed. So he and the Plant Stevens get to work in, trying to repair most of this for the most part. Unfortunately, his friends and family come in worried about the fact that he's still very pink and everything that's been happening. And his thoughts have actually been projected all across with him saying, I'm here to help, I'm here to help. And it starts to distort and it literally starts to sound like a cry for help, which Connie very much picked up on that something is wrong here. And Steven does his best to play it off, that everything's fine, they're overreacting, he doesn't make things worse, he's Steven Universe, he makes things better, he helps people. But, as he goes to leave, everyone's just like, dude, you gotta talk to us. You got to tell us what's going on. What's happening in your life because things are getting out of hand, out of control. And he starts to admit to all the destructive things he's done, the terrible thoughts he's had, the fact that got into the argument with his dad, that he shattered Jasper, that he tempted to shatter the diamonds. But, starts to think that, every time I've managed to just make things go away, sweep it under the rug, just push it to the side, make it better, fix it in some way, hide my mistakes. But he starts to realize what he's saying, and it's just like, that's terrible. I've done all these bad things, and I've managed to not be held accountable for what I've done. I've gone this long, and I've just kept making more and more mistakes, spiraling further and further out of control. And then he realizes that he's a monster, and a massive form grows out of its back. That ends this episode, but what what a spiral of emotions. He just kept going further and further and further down this rabbit hole of just feeling awful about all the things that he's done, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and just getting more and more out of control. Couldn't get better. It just, I've been down that road, man. It really just, it hurts you more than anything else, because everything you do to make things better just seems to make things worse. And you're so afraid to talk to people because you want to have it handled. You want to have everything work out, be better. Because everything used to be so simple, right, when you were younger. We then move over to episode 19, I Am My Monster. A distortion of the whole I am my mom thing. And uh, just it just kind of really comes to a head here as Steven has become that monster we saw in the intro. Just speculation was right, but the method behind it, how it happened, that's the thing that nobody could have guessed. And that's the real selling point. We knew that monster was Steven. We just didn't know why. How could we? How could we have ever thought things would go in this direction? And as the monster is seen all across Beach City, in comes Bismuth, Lapis, and Peridot. Something I didn't mention before. Bismuth is no longer voiced for the rest of the series by Uzo Adoba. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She actually was the voice role of Bismuth was actually taken over by an actor slash rapper, lyricist, Marion Hyman, and I'm not sure what the situation behind that was. Maybe Uzo's schedule got a little too busy, but it's a different voice for Bismuth, but she's so almost spot on that you barely really notice the difference. But you know the rest of the gems come in looking to help out in this giant monster battle, only to find everyone else outside trying to talk Steven down, with much to their shock, with Garnet noting that, as long as Steven thinks that he's a monster, he'll stay that way. So she tries to get everyone, you know, on point with a plan to keep Stephen away from the town, from doing any real harm to anyone. So he starts to try to rampage into the town. Everyone forms into Alexandrite in order to grapple with him, to keep him from going into the city. Bismuth, who's propelled by Peridot into the air, managed to get Stephen's attention towards the sea, where he can be chained down by Lapis. So they've managed to restrain him for the most part, but they're not sure about what to do at this point, because usually this is the part where Stephen comes in and is able to talk things over with the person who's having trouble. But the person who's having trouble is Stephen, and things are made no better by the arrival of the Diamonds and Spinel, who wish to return his flip flop. And, the whole thing about him trying to shatter White Diamond was still kind of a thing. And then they see what's happened to Steven, and, they're taken aback, wondering if he's been corrupted, wondering what they can do in order to help. So Yellow Diamond at first uses her ability to try to, alter his physical form back, but to no avail. Blue Diamond tries to use her newfound abilities to get Steven's mood in a better place, only for him to blow it right back at them, and it hits Yellow Diamond and Spinel. So White Diamond goes in to try to empathize with Steven, get that connection going so that they can know what's going on in his head, only for that to backfire, as whatever's going on with Steven is just becomes so out of control. It's almost like he's not even Steven anymore. He's just a mindless beast. And he unleashes this wave of fury that knocks everyone back and down to the ground. And it's only thanks to the cluster forming to hold him down that they're able to get a moment to try to figure things out. But they're at a loss as to what to do, because it's just like, what can we do? Everyone just starts blaming themselves, with it especially being Smanel and White Diamond, who just realize that everything that they've done up to this point has kind of led him into this direction, and they really start to lament it. Yellow Diamond, Blue Diamond, White Diamond, Spinel, they all feel terrible over the fact that they hurt Steven in these various different ways. And Connie comes in and it's just like, yeah, you did hurt Steven. You did terrible things to him, and you almost shouldn't be forgiven, but he did. Steven is always there for people. He's always there to try to help people. That's what he always does. And he's done that. He's helped people in various ways and shapes and forms. But this time, Stephen needs our help. Stephen is the one hurting. Stephen is the one who needs us to give back to him. And I love that speech. I love this speech by Connie because it's that realization that, he was always there. He was always doing his best. He never gave up on us. So we damn sure shouldn't give up on him. And so while Steven does manage to overpower the cluster, Garnet has a plan as to what to do. So as Lapis comes in, kind of disorienting Steven with the sea. Yellow Diamond makes Garnet massive so that she can grapple onto Steven and hold him in place as everyone else goes rushing in for one massive group hug, honestly. And it's just like, oh, they're just hugging their problems away. Yeah, of course. Because they start to tell Steven. They start to recount all the times that Steven has been there for all of them. With Steven being the one to help Garnet when she would fall apart, helping her to always come back together. How Steven never gave up on Peridot. How he taught Amethyst to love herself, despite everything, to love herself. And for Pearl to, help come to terms with parts of herself that she kept in the dark, that she kept secret, that she kept off to the side. All lessons that Steven has to go through right now. He's struggling with all those things that they had to go through, but it came at him all at once, and it became so overwhelming that he lost his way, that he lost himself, and it just became so out of control, and he needed this moment of just having everyone just show him, hey, you're not alone. We love you. We care for you. We care about you. Yes, you're going through things, and we understand, and we are here for you. It is a moment that I've been through. I've been through this moment where I just spiraled out of control into something awful, and I've did so many bad things, and I felt terrible, and it just took people coming to me and saying, dude, this has gone too far, and I knew it, and it got really bad, but the people that you care about, the people that love you, will be there for you in the end. You just gotta accept that they're there for you. Sometimes that's not always an option, but you know, sometimes it's more of an option than you'd like to think. You're willing to accept that people are there, people care, people love you. And then Connie comes in and, you know, talks to him, empathizes with him, takes in his hurt, and she gives him a little bit of a kiss because while she doesn't have the power to heal like he does, she still cares about him and hopes that her love will reach him. And it does. And he cries these massive tears that drop into the sea and just seem to kind of heal him. And he manages to revert back to his normal form, but he's so just overwhelmed by anything. He just starts sobbing uncontrollably, but it's okay because your friends are here. Everything's going to be okay. You just have to let it. And that ends that episode. And it just, yeah, the tears flowed like waterfalls. Just so much emotion, just so much hurt, so much pain, and what's worse is it's just so relatable. Because people go through this pain, people go through this hurt of just feeling that everything has just gone so far out of control that they can't stand it anymore. It just gotta take that moment and ask someone, talk to someone, get their help with a situation. And with that, we move on to the final episode of Steven Universe Future. The conclusion to Steven Universe as a whole. Episode 20, The Future. We pick up months later, after Steven's meltdown. Connie meets up with Steven to plan his trip. He's leaving Beach City. He's gonna visit different places, people, things. Gotta find some place to settle down. Figure out some place that he likes, some place that he enjoys. He's taking his dad's advice and he's trying to find himself. The true Steven Universe. However, he hasn't told the gems about it just yet. He doesn't know how to break it to them. Now, after everything that they've been through, he doesn't know how to tell them. So he makes some cookie cats. That snack that got discontinued that he was so distraught over in the first episode. The thing that kind of started it all. And he, shares them with his friends, and we see Pearl eat for the first time. She's come so far, and they start singing the Cookie Cat jingle. That old jingle from all those years ago that really set everything off. But then they get to the last part. That Cookie Cat left his family behind. And that helps Steven segue into telling them that he's leaving, he'll be in touch, he'll call them. He's in contact with a new therapist who will help him through all of his issues and his problem. Which, please, if you're going through anything that is really started to spiral or before it spirals, see a therapist if you can. It's not something that you should struggle with alone. And if it seems like people around you might not be able to help you, maybe that's a sign that you really need help on a different level. And don't be afraid to go to different therapists too. Not everyone suits every person. God, I wish I had done something like that a long time ago. But he's taken aback by the fact that the crystal gems seem to really just take that in stride. They just feel nonchalant about the whole situation, which really takes Stephen off guard. However, when he tells it to Bismuth, Peridot, and Lapis, they are devastated. They don't want him to leave. They want him to stay. They want him to be there. They blame themselves. They feel like they don't want him to run from his problems or his situations, specifically Lapis, because that's a lesson she learned. But this is something he has to do. So he gives Peridot a T-shirt, telling him to telling her to be the Steven she wants in the world. Just that because Peridot thinks so highly of Steven as a person. He gives Lapis an art set because she's been able to express herself so much through art, and she's taken to it so much and grown such a fondness for creating meat warps and all that good stuff. And he gives Bismuth the original flag of the crystal gems, things that mean so much to all of them. He says goodbye to all of his friends. He's gonna miss them. He'll be back to visit, but this place that they call home is no longer his home. Even Jasper comes out, wanting to go along with Steven to protect him, but ultimately he'd be able to protect himself. It's ironic. After all this time, all this effort to get Jasper to just open up to him, he's leaving. and, and there's nothing Jasper can really do. There's no protection she can give him, no advice she can bestow upon him. He's found his way. And, wanting to just connect with the gems before he leaves, he gives Amethyst his game set, but, that doesn't seem to elicit a reaction. He gives Pearl his old ukulele from way back when, but she just kind of files it away. And he gives Garnet this scrapbook that he made of Ruby and Sapphire's wedding, but that doesn't elicit the response that he was hoping for. And he tells this to Greg, who's just like, well, maybe they just don't want you to worry. Maybe they don't want you to feel bad about leaving. And Steven ends up giving Greg his room. Because, despite being rich, he's just kind of been living in his van still all this time. And, at first Greg is kind of apprehensive about the idea. But, after all these years, he's finally settling down, and after all this time, Steven is setting out. It feels like it's kind of like balanced, like all things should be. But it makes a weird kind of sense for them, you know? And so the day finally comes for Steven to leave. He kisses Connie goodbye, which, man, we came a long way. That peck on the cheek we first saw in Steven Universe, the movie, has come a long way to get to this point. But he gives Connie a kiss goodbye, but they'll talk later. Of course, he's going to see her. He says goodbye to his dad. He says goodbye to the gems, which is still very lukewarm in his opinion, and he drives off. Only to drive right back wondering what the hell is going on with the gems, who ultimately hug him because, of course, they were just trying to be strong. They didn't want him to see their tears, and because Garnet saw into the future, there was a possibility he would stay behind because of that. But, you know, they know that they'll always be a part of his life. There will always be that love between them. They'll visit. They'll see him again. This isn't goodbye for good. It's just goodbye for now. That's it. That's all. But it's still a goodbye, and it still hurts. It's still tragic. It's still sad. But it's something he has to do. And each of them gives him a send off worthy of all of them, with Garnet telling him about watch one of his tires because he might have a little bit of trouble on his trip. Uh, Amethyst just calling him Bra, being very laid back and peaceful, and Pearl, who's had the reputation of the one who cries a lot in the series, just sobbing uncontrollably right up into the end. But Steven's gone. He gets a nice send off by the people of Beach City, who he told was leaving. We see that he gave his cheeseburger backpack to Onion, who really took a shine to Steven over time, who really looked up to him. And Steven drives out of Beach City, off on a new adventure. And we segue right into the ending credits of Steven leaving his home behind for a new adventure called life. What a fantastic conclusion. Not the bombastic battle for the end where, explosions, emotions running high, this, that, and the other. No, it was a simple, peaceful conclusion. Steven setting out to just live his life, to do his thing. We all come to this point where you just have to move on. And I know that's hard for a lot of people. I know we just kind of hold fast to what's familiar. But sometimes that's just not the way to go. Sometimes you gotta go out there and figure things out, if at all possible. And even if you're not able to do that, maybe just talk with people. Think about where you want to go in life. Work towards that. This has been a fantastic series. I remember watching the pilot with some friends before the series came out, and a buddy of mine told me that this series was going to be something special, but that was an understatement. Never would have known how special this series would be. But it's meant a lot to me. It's connected a lot to me. Years of my life, all within this one series. And I'm gonna miss it. I made some really good friends because of this series. But all good things have to come to an end. But at the same time, nothing really ends. A new beginning starts, and though you might not be involved with that new beginning, it's out there. It doesn't invalidate the time you've spent or the people you've met along the way. That was all valuable. That's all priceless. You should cherish that. But with that, Steven Universe Future and Steven Universe as a whole has come to a close. Tell me your thoughts in the comments section below. How did you feel about this conclusion? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you feel that you deserve something better? Tell me what that is in the comment section below if you feel that way. And maybe tell me about your own personal experiences. How did you feel? Did you ever come to this kind of point where things just got really bad and people helped you get out of it? Helped you figure things out? Helped you get better? Tell me in the comment section below. And if you liked this video, leave me a like. If you didn't, feel free to leave me a dislike. Subscribe and hit the bell icon. That way you never miss out on another review. I have plenty of them on my channel. I hope to see you there. But until then, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din. And I hope to see you somewhere out there in the universe. Bye-bye.